Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. Still watching Hurricane Erin, although compared to a couple of days ago when this storm was basically firing on all cylinders, a very impressive storm, very strong and very well structured. Now you're looking at it today, and just by this view you can tell something is certainly going on. So we'll talk more about what exactly is going on with this storm, but it's a strong storm. Winds are 105 miles an hour. The hurricane force winds, they extend out about 80 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds about 205 miles from the center of the storm. So Erin, it's a large storm, and it is expected to gain even more size as we go through the next several days. It is also expected to produce that storm surge along the Carolina coastline and the rip currents really along the Florida coastline all the way up the East Coast as it continues to work its way towards the north, just somewhat in some cases paralleling the East Coast. And then the tropical storm and coastal flood warnings for North Carolina, storm surge warnings for the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So there are a lot of dangers with this storm as we go through the coming days. So here's that visible satellite loop, and you're still seeing a lot of that really deep convection over on that eastern and southern side of the storm, but you're noticing here on the western side and the northwestern side, you're really seeing a lot of those lower level clouds. You can see the center right here, so it is somewhat exposed. The reason why, and we've mentioned this for a couple of days, that as this would start to work its way to the north, it would start to encounter some of that wind shear, and that is exactly what is going on. So that wind shear is now blowing over the system from the west and the northwest. So think of this, you've got this system, the wind starts to blow and it just knocks the cloud tops right off the top of it, pushing them towards the east, pushing them towards the southeast. And tropical systems, they like to produce the wind, they don't like to experience the wind. It disrupts that circulation, it disrupts that outflow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, so it just doesn't allow it to really keep itself well organized. And that's exactly what you're seeing with this right now with that strong wind shear. Now, it does look like as this continues to move to the north, there is at least this opportunity in maybe about 24, 36 hours, it'll move enough to the north that it may get this little brief period where some of that wind shear decreases over the system, which may allow it to strengthen a little bit more. So we're not going to see this re-strengthen and reorganize itself anything close to what we saw over the weekend, but it may boost it back up 5, 10 miles an hour, maybe 15 miles an hour at best, but certainly there is that possibility. Right now, winds are at 105 miles an hour, moving to the northwest at 9 miles an hour. It had slowed down a little bit. Now it looked like maybe picking up a little bit of that forward speed, but that trend for the past couple of days had been pushing it a little bit further to the west. Now the track pretty much locked in right now. You notice it is coming close enough to the U.S. coastline and the Carolinas that has prompted those tropical storm watches, and now we have that tropical storm warning across the Outer Banks and the coastal areas from Duck, North Carolina, all the way up up in towards Virginia as well. And that's where we have that tropical storm warning. Other hazards will continue to be the storm surge along the coastline. So you look at this wind field, and this is just going to continue to grow as we go through the next couple of days. And there you see it as it's working its way to the north, continuing to expand. You see some of these tropical storm force winds. You look up the scale right along the coastline through the Outer Banks. That's why, again, you're seeing those evacuation orders. You're seeing the tropical storm warnings and the surge warnings for these areas. It just kind of juts out just far enough, and the storm's coming just close enough that it does look like those tropical storm force winds right along the coastline. Then remember, those winds, they're coming from that north and northeasterly direction. As it's further to the south, they're coming from that east and southeasterly direction. So it's going to be pushing those waves, pushing that water right along the coastline. You look at the Fox model, what we're looking at here is just over time where we see the maximum wind gust. So right along the coastline near Hatteras, could see those winds gusting to 50 to 60 miles an hour. Virginia Beach 35 to 40, even as you head all the way up towards Long Island. Could see some of these winds at times gusting right around tropical storm force. Look at the wave heights as we go through the next couple of days. As we head into Thursday morning, really through those overnight hours, through Wednesday into Thursday, that's where we're really going to start to watch that surge in the waves picking up along the Carolina coastline. And there you see that 20-foot waves. And that's where that surge will be really at its maximum, pushing onshore. So we do have that surge forecast between about 1 to 4 feet of storm surge, really from the South Carolina coastline working its way to the north. Now, other areas that we're also watching, of course, we have Erin. We also have this other area that we've been watching for a couple of days, the tropical wave, right where you see that X. Doesn't look like anything will happen in the short term, but over the next 7 days, up to about a 60% chance of development. Then we also have this other spot that has now worked its way off the coastline of Africa. That has been now designated as Invest 99, putting about a 30% chance of development with that. Pretty impressive right now. That is sitting a little bit further to the south than what we saw with Erin as it was working its way on towards the west, and computer models keeping this sitting a little bit lower. So it's way out there. We're obviously talking just off the coastline of Africa, but we'll continue to watch all these areas. Of course, we're at that time of the year where we do expect to see a lot more activity heading towards that peak of the hurricane season. So as you go through the month of August, heading into September, you do expect to see a lot more activity, and we are seeing exactly that. And we'll keep you updated right here on myfoxhurricane.com.